Hello, and welcome back to our learning of the Mishnah on Shabbat. We're starting now chapter 11. So we'll be looking at Aleph and Bet, 1 and 2 of chapter 11 of Mishnah Shabbat. Okay, so we're still dealing with different domains. So as we had learned, transferring between private and public, from public to private, either way, vice versa, is one's liable for, or carrying 4 amot within the public domain. Now we're dealing with different ways of going about doing it, and we're gonna come across a reference to the Mishkan and the particular way in which something was done that informs how we judge these strange ways, perhaps, of transferring and different kind of circumstances, how it affects things. Okay, so Aleph. Hazorek mirashut hayachid l'rashut harabim, mirashut harabim l'rashut hayachid chayav. One who throws from the private domain to the public domain, or from the public domain to the private domain, is liable. So throwing is a tolda of carrying. It's directly derived from it. It's not the way in which it was done with the construction of the Mishkan and the Torah, but it is derived from it and therefore still liable if you're going between these domains. Mirashut hayachid l'rashut hayachid, or rashut harabim be'emsa, Rabbi Akiva mechayev v'chachamim potrin. But one who throws from a private domain to another private domain, which is private domain to private domain on its own, is fine. But a public domain lies in the middle, so maybe this we would think would be a problem. Rabbi Akiva says that this person would be liable, and the sages, so it's one versus the rest, say that this person would be exempt. Okay, so let's hear more about this. We're going to talk more about this in the next Mishnah. Bet Ketzad. In what manner? Shtei gzuz teraot, zo cheneged zo, v'rashut harabim, hamoshit v'hazorek mizo lezo pator. Okay, so if we have 2 balconies, one opposite the other in the public domain, so the person's balcony, each balcony is a private domain unto itself, but in the middle of them is a public domain. One who hands over or throws from one to the other is exempt. So whether you do it in the regular or the irregular way, through just handing, or from throwing, exempt. So what is that case? You have to have a picture. So that's this case. So one over to the other. Balcony, and you have public domain in the middle. These are each private domains, so passing over or throwing over, they're saying here, would be exempt. Okay. Hayush dehen b'diota achat, hamoshit chayav v'hazorek pator. If both were in one row, one who hands over is liable, whereas one who throws is exempt. So in this case, they're right next to each other. The handing over then would be liable, so this would be like similar to the way things were done relating to the Mishkan, but throwing would still be exempt because it's not the usual manner and because it is 2 private domains at the end of the day. Shekach haya, so we're going to explain exactly what's going on here. What's the biblical reference? Shekach hayta avodat haLevim. For such was the work of the Levites, of the Levim. Shtei agalot zo achar zo v'rashut harabim moshitin hakrashim mizo lezo aval lo zorkin. There were 2 wagons, one behind the other, in a public domain, and they would hand over the boards from one to the other, but they would not throw them. So what is this talking about? This is talking about when we were traveling through the desert, the Israelites, the Mishkan was moving, so it had to be deconstructed and reconstructed wherever they moved to. So they would the boards that would make up the walls of the Mishkan. There was one family within the Levim whose responsibility was to take care of these materials. They wouldn't throw them, whether because of some kind of, for the dignity due to them, or just the manner in which it happened to be done, more practical, for whatever reason, they wouldn't throw them. They would hand them one over the other from one wagon to the other. And this is comparable to it was given over the long way, not the width. Not from the 2 front wagons, but from the front to back. So that's how it was passed. So that's the way in which the comparable way of doing it in our scenario would be liable if you're doing it like the way the Levim did with the Mishkan, with the boards of the Mishkan on these wagons. But if you do it in a different way, then there's more flexibility. And then also they wouldn't throw them. So if we're already going through we're talking about a case in which we're dealing with two private domains. There just happens to be a public domain in the middle. So we know that if it was just two private domains, we would be fine. And now we're saying, certainly if you're throwing them, you're doing it in this unusual manner. That's not the way that it was done by the Levim, and you're dealing with two private domains at the end of the day, then it would be exempt from liability. Okay. Now, another example, but similar kind of topic that we're on. Chuliyat habor v'hasela shehen gavoin asara v'rachban arba'a hanotel mehen v'hanoten al gaban chayav pachot miken patur. So the bank of a cistern or a rock that are 10 handbreadths high and 4 handbreadths wide. One who takes an article from them or places something on them, so meaning you're going from public to private, so then we would have a problem. That would be chayav, because this is big enough to constitute a domain. It's not a makom patur if it's bigger than this 10 high and 4 wide. Since this area would constitute a private domain, and you're going from the public or the other way around, vice versa. But pachot mikan, if it's less than these dimensions, then it would be patur, because then it would be a Carmelite or something. It wouldn't constitute the public domain, and therefore we wouldn't have the same problem. It would still be rabbinically prohibited, but it wouldn't be the same biblical problem. Okay, good. We'll continue with Mishnah 3 Gimel next week. No, next week is Rosh Hashanah, so maybe we'll do it another day, or we'll postpone. So wishing everyone Shana Tova Mid Tukah, and see you all soon, I hope. Okay, bye.